This was a subject y'all asked me a lot about. Yo, what's good, everybody? Man, DC Comics, huh? Got a lot of messages from you guys asking about my comments on some recent events pertaining to DC Comics. Sort of depressing, if you will, I'd argue. But I'm going to read this from a Variety. Was this the Hollywood Reporter? Same thing? I don't know. But I'm going to read this real quick, and we'll kind of go through some of my thoughts on it. But let's get started. They say the majority of staff of the streaming service, DC Universe, has been laid off as the editor-in-chief, Bob Harras, and multiple other executives on the publishing side. Monday's Warner Media layoffs have affected a significant amount of high-level figures at comic book powerhouse DC, multiple sources tell The Hollywood Reporter. Among those said to be losing their positions are editor-in-chief, Bob Harras. So why did they spell it Harras? Is it Bob Harras or Harras? All right, whatever. Because it Harras, and then over here they spell it Harris, or maybe it's a different guy. Senior VP of Publishing Strategy and Support Services, Hank Canals. Why do y'all have weird names? Then again, my last name is July. VP of Marketing and Creative Services, Jonah Whelan. VP Global Publishing Initiatives and Digital Strategy, Bobby Chase. Senior Story Editor, Brian Cunningham. And Executive Editor, Mark Doyle, who oversaw the rollout of the Black Label graphic novels. Jim Lee remains the CCO. Roughly one third of DC's editorial ranks are being laid off, according to sources. Insiders also say the majority of the staff of the streaming service DC Universe has been laid off, a move that had been widely expected as Warner Media shifts to focus on new streaming service HBO Max. DC Universe was DOA as soon as the AT&T merger happened, said one source. Also a victim of the layoffs, DC Direct, the company's in-house merchandise and collectibles manufacturer. DC spokesperson declined on the changes, which come less than 2 weeks before the planned August 22nd online event DC Fandom, which is set to showcase stars from DC Films and the comic book worlds. So you have that, which is interesting. It looks like there's some more information. Let me see if I can find this. DC Universe's original series have in recent months found homes on other platforms. So it looks like the DC Media thing may be gone. Or the DC Universe. Kind of sucks. So look, there's a lot of changes happening, and they're restructuring, and it's causing a lot of folks to lose their job. Now, some of these people are going to say that it was an inevitable thing. I'd argue that, yes, that it was an inevitable thing. But the thing about DC Comics that makes it more unique, I know we're looking at it like a death of mainstream comics, but I think that merger was a terrible idea. Getting people that have, obviously that's more of an economic thing. When you have people that own, let's say, your product that don't have really any passion, they just think it can make them some bread. But to make bread, I feel like you need passion in some of your work when it comes to the creative side of things. So if this thing was making, let's be clear, if it was making money, whether it be the comic books or anything like that, if it was making money like they wanted it to make or like it expected to make, as far as it being profitable, being lucrative, this wouldn't happen. This is happening because something is up from an economic standpoint. So whose fault is that is more so what the conversation is going to have. Funny, obviously when something like this happens right after you see that goofy DC, or more so that Wonder Woman 1984 thing, you see that goofy looking cover, you're like, oh, well, that's the reason. I think that's part of it. That kind of speaks to it, but it's not just that. It's bigger than that, because they were dead in terms of their position in the first place. When you look at, I would say go look at some of my like For Canon's Sake, talking to old DC Comics guys and their experience with it. One in particular had that show was incredible. Go look for Candace Sake if you're going to go check that out. But when you have people that, again, don't have really any passion to do anything with it, and then you couple that with the fact that there's this raging, like, definitely nowadays, this raging, like, advocates of social justice, which feel as if the comic book should depict their personal, social, political views, and they don't beat you over the head with it. They laugh at anybody that dares to criticize them. They laugh at anybody that wants to do better, wants to do different. When you couple that with all of the other crap that DC had to do, it's a perfect recipe for disaster. Sounds like an oxymoron, but that's the reality of the situation. Look, man, I'm a comic guy. Y'all know this. And I may be one of the few guys that are reading some current books. Because there are some, you can swim through them. Some of them are crap. Oh, no, excuse me. Most of them are crap, but there's some diamonds in there, here and there. But the thing about this is that the folks on the Twitter side, which don't even handle the business, of course, but the folks on the Twitter side, they will never blame themselves. So when you get the guys, the artists, not the artists, more so the writers, and they feel like taking it to the folks that would dare to criticize their garbage material, they love to take it to us, right? So they do a lot of stuff out of spite, even if it doesn't equal sales. And they'll point to these like mild, short-term successes, if you will, before, they'll be like, hey, look at this did this, instead of looking at the grand scheme and the fact that comics are just selling less. And it's not because there isn't a demand for it. It's because the books aren't any good. This is why when they do put out old books, reprints, those sell a lot. It's a content problem. And that is what these guys will never, ever come to terms with. I'm spitting all over the place. But that's what they won't come to terms with. They'll always blame folks like myself. Oh, you go out there, you're always talking bad about the books, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, you're a transphobe. It's all nonsense. It's not an argument. You have a content problem. If your content was better, people will buy the books and you wouldn't get laid off. I understand that in the background, y'all, look, it's some stuff that y'all can't control. I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't exist. I'm not. I refuse to. It'd be disingenuous for me to do so. However, do not sit here and act like what you guys are putting out equals sales. I've been telling y'all, if I don't know how many times, people hot-siding on Twitter and Instagram and even cosplaying your characters does not equal them actually reaching in their pocket, grabbing money, grabbing their cards, and actually paying for a product. It doesn't. People, Slay Queen, when you make a goofy cover, does not mean that they are going to go buy your books. They are a very unreliable and not dependable demographic. And the thing is, comic books already has a dependable demographic. Just for whatever reason, as it's happening in other fields, other industries, people think that it's about them. It's about their advocacy. And so if they do that, it's worth it, even if it means no sense. And they look at, they scratch their heads like, damn, why aren't the books selling like they should be? We've done this, we've done that, we've done everything that we need to do. Why aren't they selling? It's because your books are trash. Your content is trash. It doesn't motivate people. You have a core demographic, and not only have you neglected them, you've actively pushed them away. And then when anybody criticizes, you hostile. You say, oh, something's wrong with you because you just don't respect it, because you just can't enjoy this particular work. They'll never admit that it's them. I hate to see people lose their jobs. And they'll also use this as an excuse, the fact that the virus is existing. The virus is a thing. People aren't, all that did was maybe speed up the inevitable. That's it. You have a content problem, and until you guys recognize that, stop trying to appeal to these weirdos. And that's not just at the lower level of the people that are very interactive on Instagram and Twitter, who respond to people that don't buy books. Oh, we got 5,000 likes on my post, taking it to the comics gators or whatever. 5,000 likes, that don't mean 5,000 books sold. It just don't. It doesn't. Appealing to weirdos, pushing out your core demographic, and And then you shrug like, I don't know what's going on. It's a you problem. And that starts at the top. Like I was talking about with some of the other guys I had done the Four Can and Steak podcast episodes with. You have to think about the levels here. How much garbage has to be put out there? How much trash has to be thrown out there? And how many levels in which people facilitate this? And nobody stopped and said, this is not what we need to be giving people. It went through all those channels and nobody thought to correct them. That right there is your problem. I hate to see it happen. But until they recognize that it's a you problem, not blaming it on folks like myself who make videos criticizing your garbage books, when they are garbage, I'll give you props if they're good. But if they trash, I'm going to tell you about it. Instead of blaming folks like me, make better products. All right, bro. So you may have seen some commenters on my videos with these cool little badges next to their names. These are my members, or Macs as we call them. The badges change depending on how long you've been a Mac. For as little as 99 cents a month, you can become a Mac and get access to a bunch of cool emotes that you can use during our crazy live streams. There are currently 4 different tiers of memberships, and one even gets you 50% off in the merch store. For more information on becoming a Mac, head over to my YouTube homepage and click the join button near the top of the page.